Hey friends, welcome to webscript.info. My name is Rizwan Khan and I welcome all of you to my YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to continue our Mern Stack e-commerce video series, and this is the second video of our series. And in this video, we are going to create backend APIs. We are going to create APIs for user and admin. So right now, we are going to create authentication APIs. Okay, for both user, there are two different types of users, like a normal user, so basically they are customers, or admins who can create the products and they can manage everything, right? So let's continue with the project. So Mern e-commerce, and here we have Mern backend, and in this folder, okay, so in the last video we have created these two folders and we have set up our environment. We have installed a couple of softwares like VS Code, Node and Postman and etc. So let's open our project here, git bash, and here you can see we have Mern e-commerce. Let me increase the font size so you can see it in a better way. Okay, is it visible? Hopefully. And okay, let's ls, so list, and we have two different folders. Let's navigate to the Mern backend, and ls we have nothing. So now we are going to initialize our project. So we'll do npm init and hit enter. It is going to ask a couple of questions like package name, so I will keep my package name like this only. Version, fine, description. This is backend of e-commerce Flipkart clone project. Okay, entry point, find, test, find, get repository. Keywords, you can keep keywords like e-commerce, Mern, project, backend API, blah blah blah. Author, Rizwan Khan. License, MIT. Is this okay? Yes. Ls. Now we have a file, package.json. Now let's open our project in the VS Code. And okay, so this is our project. This is keywords we have added, and this is the script section. Okay, so let's first we need a couple of libraries to create the server and validate the request and so many things, right? So let's first install. Let's clear npm install -f save. We are going to install Express. So Express, we are going to use Express to create the server. Express -validator. So it is going to validate incoming request, whatever the request will come to the application, will validate those requests, basically the payload of the request with this Express validator library. Fine. And next thing, let's also add Mongoose. So we are going to use Mongodb as a database. So we need to have Mongoose, so we can so it's like it is a library on the top of MongoDB. We can easily create schema and everything because MongoDB is a schema-less database system. Okay, so Mongoose allows us to create schemas and query something like that. Okay, so next thing what we have, Mongoose, fine. Okay, let's install these three first. Okay, so all of them installed: Mongoose, Express Validator and Express. So let's first create the server. We'll first create a hello API. Okay, so let's go, and here we have our package.json file, and this is our dependencies: Express, Express Validator and Mongoose. So we are starting from a very basic and we'll end with a very large backend. Okay, so let's create a folder, src. Okay, so this is going to be our source folder. We will do everything inside this folder. Okay, so let's create a file. You can keep a name like server.js, index.js. I would like to keep it like index.server.js. Okay, and here we are going to add the library express require. So let me increase the font size. You can see it in a better. Okay, that's fine, and let's small it. Okay, require. Now let's add the express. Cool. And okay, let's create your app, const app express, so it will create an app. And okay, let's call app dot listen. So it is going to listen on a server, right? So here we are going to say some port like 3000, 4000, anything. So we are not going to hard code, we are going to use some environment variable. So let's create a file .env, not inside the src, right? Yeah, cool. So .env, and here we are going to say port, and we'll say the port like 9000 or let's say 2000. So this is our backend port, and port 2000. Okay, here we are going to say the process dot env dot port, and we'll use callback function here, console.log. Once we will run this server, we'll get a console message like server is running on port dollar, and we'll say the process dot env dot port. Okay, and let's save it. Okay, cool. Okay, that's fine. Save it, and let's run our application first. We'll say node, and we have src, and then index.server.js, hit enter. So server is running on port undefined. Okay, we have to install one more library, that is environment, for the environment, right? So let's go back and close it and install npm install -- save, and as a dev dependency, no, as a dev, fine, .env. Let's install it. Okay, so our .env library is installed. Now we can use our env. So let's go back to the project, and let's let's create again import the library const, and we'll say env equals to require, and here we'll say .env. Okay, now let's call environment variable, or you can say constants. Okay, so we'll say env dot config. Okay, that's it. We just need to call it. Okay, now let's run your server again. Sorry, hit close this, and we'll say node src index.server.js. Server is running on port 2000. Now we have 2000, it's working fine. So this server is running, right? But we haven't created any API. We just created a server that is running on port 2000. Okay, so let's create our first hello API. Okay, so we'll say app.get. So this get is actually a method. We'll say the /, and it takes a function as a second argument, and it also takes a few parameters like request, response, and next. Okay, so let's go down, and we'll say over here response dot status. So when someone will make a API call, we have to send some status like 200, 404 for not found, 400 for bad request, 500 for bad request, and blah blah blah. So let's say 200, this is just a normal 200, it's an okay request. Okay, so this is fine, and we'll say JSON, and here we're going to say message, we'll say hello from server. Okay, hello from server, right? So let's close this, and yeah, this is our first API, right? Now we have to run this again, and we'll solve this problem also. We don't need to run it again and again. We will use Nodemon, but for the moment. Okay, so this server is running on port 2000, and we have installed Postman, right? So we can call this API with the help of Postman. Let's close this, and it's 2000, right? So localhost colon 2000, and this API is just /, right? And that's it. Let's call it, and you can see hello from server. So this is our first API, which is working very fine. Okay, now we are going to set up some configuration. Okay, so okay, what env and index.server.js. Let's accept some input. So what are we gonna do? So this is an API without any data. We are not handling any data. We cannot send a payload until and unless it is a post request, right? So let's create a post request also. Let's copy this and okay, and let's say here data, and here we are gonna say request dot body. So yep, request dot body. Let's save it and change this get to post. Okay, and env config, and what we have, let's go and we'll say data. Okay, and let's change the request type body, and let's send a raw data. Let's see it is going to work or not. We'll say name Rizwan Khan, and this make this application JSON, and let's send request, and we are gonna get cannot post it. Okay, so yeah, this is a big problem. Let's install first Nodemon, because we cannot every time start the node, right? We cannot go and keep stop and then start again, start. It's totally unsupporting. Okay, so let's install Nodemon. So we are going to install Nodemon first. npm install -- save -dev as a dev dependency, and we'll say Nodemon. Okay, so what Nodemon will does, it will allow us to keep on running. It will watch our files every time. Whenever we are going to save any single file, it is going to watch and it is going to reload everything. And there is an error. So on npm install save dev Nodemon, something wrong maybe. Let's clear, let's try again. That was some network call issue or something. So it is installed, and you can check, you can verify in the package.json. Here it is installed Nodemon, right? So let's go to your script and we'll say start, and let's remove this text. Here we'll write Nodemon, and we are going to find our files within the src folder, right? We'll say /src index.server.js. Cool. Let's save, and let's go and let's start your server. npm start. Okay, and yes, it is running. Okay, server running on port 2000, and now let's make a API call. So this is post again, and it's a data API, and you can see we have got empty object, right? So this is because we are not passing our input, right? We are sending some data from the API as a payload, and we are not parsing those data. So to parse those data, we have to use some middleware. So here we are going to add our middleware before the request. So say app.use, and here we are going to say express.json. So we are sending JSON data, so we are using JSON to parse the data, right? Now let's send it, and here we have got name equals to Rizwan Khan. It's working fine. So instead of using express JSON, it is working fine, but we can use a better library, a separate library which is only designed for this purpose. So we are going to install that one too. Let's close this server again. npm install -save body parser. Okay, it is installed, and let's import your file body parser. Const body parser equals to require body -parser, and here we're gonna say body parser. Okay, let's check it again. Let's run it first. npm start, and it's running. Let's call. Yeah, it's working fine. So now we have created our server. It is working. Now we are going to create our database. Okay, so we need to store the user information. Okay, So let's open your browser, Chrome, and here we are going to use MongoDB, right? So first we'll see the live MongoDB, and at some point we'll also install a local MongoDB database, but let's start with the live server. Now let's type MongoDB, and here we are going to switch our account first. Okay, let's use this one. Okay, now let's log in again. Let's type MongoDB, and you can see MongoDB and MongoDB, the most popular database. So let's start free, and we have to sign in. Okay, let's use some shortcut. Let's sign in and use your Google account. You can sign in with your Google account, or you can fill the form and you can sign in. Now accept the terms and condition. Okay, privacy policy, terms of service. And it is welcoming you, and so here welcome, use your MongoDB. Okay, fine. So let's choose a path, adjust anytime, right? So this is a create a cluster. Cluster is like your the whole database, like a collection of database, and create a cluster. So it is available shared cluster even as a free, and there are some unshared or dedicated clusters. Okay, so let's use the free one, create a cluster, and let's choose a provider. So let's find I'm okay with AWS, and let's check out a place. Recommended region: Nigeria, Ireland, Singapore, Mumbai, Frank, Sydney. So let's take a Mumbai, and let's go down, and the cluster tier. So this is this is the RAM and storage for you, and obviously this one is only for the free user, 512 megabyte, and if you want more then you have to purchase it. Okay, so this is cluster tier, and let's create the, you can also give it a name, cluster name. So let's keep it a cluster 0. This is starting, fine. So let's create cluster, and here is, it will take a couple of minutes to complete. And okay, let's minimize this. Your cluster is being created. So finally it is created. It took a lot of time, guys, so be patient and wait for it. It actually took a lot of time. Okay, let's see, this is our cluster 0. We haven't given any name, and so there are some metrics, collections we can connect. How we can connect, here you can see, and let's first see the network access. Okay, and let's go to the network access and whitelist your IP address. So like only the particular systems can access, or every system can access this database. For now we are gonna whitelist, add IP address, and you can add your current IP address. So it is only this computer can access this database, or you can allow access from anywhere. So this is like 000. So keep it, I'm keeping it like this because every time my IP address gets changed, because I switch from one internet connection to another, depends on the connectivity and strength of the network. So that's why I'm allowing 000. So it depends on my internet connection. Let's confirm it. And yeah, two things are done. Whitelist your IP address is done. Let's minimize this, and now let's go to your cluster again. White network access, wait. So it is about to complete, pending. Let's go to your cluster, and let's go to your connect. Okay, and it will give you some string to connect. Here we need to create a database user. So let's create a user first. So database user, it could be anything like username root, and password, let's say password admin, right? So no, not admin, username root, password, anything is fine. Okay, so let's create as password is, let's say, admin. Okay, now create a database. So database created, and let's choose a connection method. And here are a couple of methods like connect with Mongo shell, connect your application, and blah blah. So let's connect your application, and this is the string we can use to connect. Let's copy this string and let's go to your application, and let's comment it here like okay, after the config, say here MongoDB connection. Okay, let's comment this. So this is the connection string. We can use this connection string. Okay, and let's open the Mongoose so you can understand it, how it works. Mongoose, and here Mongoose ODM, and this is the connect method. Okay, so here you can read the docs, how you can create an schema, how you can make a call, how you can retrieve data, and everything you can find. This is not a big, this is a very small library. Okay, so let's go back and let's copy this line. This is a connect line. Okay, copy, and let's paste over here. Okay, so what is this line? Mongoose.connect. Now let's import const mongoose equals to require. Okay, so mongoose, cool, and mongoose is there, mongoose.connect. Let's get it down. Okay, and let's take this also down. Use new parse URL and use unified. Save this, and also you can it returns a promise, so you can use a function then, and here you can write a function. You can say the console.log, and you can say the database connected, right, for our convince. Save it, and let's change this URL. Let's copy this, copy, and let's paste over here. Okay, let's save, and here we have a root. Okay, so let's go to your environment variable and create your user, right? So like we'll say the mongo db underscore user, okay, is going to be a root, and mongo db underscore password equals to admin, and mongo underscore db underscore we'll say database equals to e-commerce. E-C-O-M-M-R-E-C, e-commerce. Save, and let's go your index server again, and let's replace this. So let's first replace this single quotes with literal, so we can use our variables over here. And here we can say root. Instead of root, we'll say $, process dot env dot mongo underscore db underscore user. So in future you can change the user, right? Let's remove the password, and here we are going to say the $, and process dot env dot mongodb underscore password. Okay, and then finally database. So here it is. So let's remove this, and here we'll say $, process dot env dot mongo underscore db underscore database. Okay, mongodb database. Cool. Save, and hopefully it will work. Now let's go and check. You can see it's already running, database connected. So you are now connected with your MongoDB database. It's so easy, right? So let's go back and create some APIs. Okay, so for that we are going to create folder. We'll say a folder like routes. So we are going to follow a pattern. Generally Express is an unopinionated framework, right? So it means it has no opinion. You can write your code in your own style. It doesn't matter. Okay, and so like we are from a background, right? So we like to write stuff in a pattern. So there's the routes folder here. In this folder we'll create the API's route path, and for database we'll create the models, and for logic we'll create the controllers, okay, and models, routes, and here we are going to create a file. Let's create first file user.js, okay, and here we are going to write const express equals to require express, and let's say const router express dot router. So this is a function. Okay, now module, now import this module dot exports equals to router. Okay, so we are exporting this router, and let's attach some functions with that. So we'll say router dot get request, and we'll say / sign in. Now it is going to take a function request response, and that's here. Okay, let's save, and also create it for the, so it is not going to be get, it is going to be a post request. This is also post request. Here it is going to be sign up. Up to now everything is fine, working well. So routes, we have routes, and let's import this routes in your server file. Okay, so let's go and we'll say routes const, and we'll say here routes, not routes, so it's user routes equals to require routes, and we'll say user. Okay, so this is a user routes, and here is our get request. So let's get rid of this thing. So now we are going to create some middlewares. If you don't know what is middleware, now you can see I have written some like body parser, so it's a middleware. Now let me tell you the middleware. So when you are making a request from the postman or from the browser, right, and on the other side or backend you are handling that request. So you're making a request, you are handling the request. In between making request and handling the request, if you perform some activity, if you manipulate the data based on your requirement, that's a middleware. So for that we are going to write some functions so we can manipulate our data, right? So right now I'm going to write an middleware. I'm going to prefix all of my API with a keyword API, right? So let's use app.use, and we'll say / API. So every API will be prefixed with API. And now let's take the user routes over here. So user routes again is a function. Let's save, and you can see user routes is here, and we have imported this user routes. So here user routes is a function, and so here is we are using this app.use as a middleware. So every request will be prefixed with API for the user routes, and then this user routes will be called, which is available here. So it is based on the request, like what request we are making. And this is one more, right? And now okay, so here we have our post 2 methods, and we are exporting that router, and here we have importing that router as a user routes, and then finally we are prefixing with an API. Okay, now let's save it, and okay, let's create the model finally, and here we are going to create the model file. We'll say user.js, and here we are going to say const mongoose equals to require mongoose, and let's export this module dot exports equals to mongoose dot so we are writing a model, right? Model, and it has a function model. Give it a name user. So this is our user model. So there are different kinds of user like admin, customers, and all. Here I haven't created anything, right? So let's save it and check your this fine. So this is working fine. Now let's create a schema const and we'll say user schema equals to new. We'll create an object mongoose dot schema, and then it takes an object. Here we are going to define fields of our users or customers, right? So we'll say first name, type is going to be string, it is required, so they will say true, and trim, so it will remove the white space if there is. Next we are going to have trim and required true, that's it. Or length, you can specify the minimum length, let's say 3, and the maximum length, let's create 20. Okay, now let's copy this one, copy, and here we are going to say the last name and type string true, trim, and fine. Now let's write username equals to this one, type, and here we are going to say string and required, so required is going to be true, it's important. And here we are going to say trim true, and unique true, so it will be unique, every user will be unique. Index, yes, indexing is also required, so we can query the based on the username also. And what else, that's fine. Lowercase, everything should be lowercase, true, and that's it. So this way we can define our schema: username, email, type, string, required, true, and trim, true, and unique. It is all email will also be unique, so we'll say that true, and that's it. For the email, you can also keep your email like always, every letters of email except the special characters, everything will be true here, true, lowercase, true. Email, and then hash password, hash underscore password, so type will be again string, and we'll say the required true, type, that's it, true. You can specify the length of the password also. Now role, so who is this user, customer, or admin, say that type, again string, and enum data type will use. Okay, so it is going to be you can write customer, or let's write user, so it may be like in future we can have different types of user, right? So another one for sure, admin, and let's take the default, so default will be admin. Okay, now what else, just think guys, what else? Role, password, email, contact. Obviously for every customer we need the contact number, contact number, that is going to be string. Okay, now contact number, what else? Profile picture, right? Profile picture, type string. Okay, now you can add a field like created at, so for the dates and updated ads. So I will use predefined something. So here we can pass a second object, and there I can say that timestamps true. Okay, let's save. So this is our user schema. Let's copy this and pass as a second argument. So now our user schema is ready. Save, check your console. Yeah, everything looks fine. It's totally frustrate you if you're getting any error. It's really difficult to find in this kind of application. Okay, so yeah, so our user schema is ready. Also we will create some virtual field. That's the specialty in Mongoose. We cannot do directly in MongoDB, so we'll use user schema dot virtual. Okay, and here we are going to say the password. We'll use a function bcrypt, so the password, and it allows me to set okay, so we are going to write a regular function, and here we are going to take the password as input, and so we can set a value. So this is hash password. So whenever we will set up a password, before setting up the password, we can set the password from here, as well as we can directly we can set bcrypt. We can use a function bcrypt, and we can hash the password, and we can save without creating any virtual. But this sounds perfect to me, and it will also keep your code lesser in the controller. Okay, so let's use this underscore dash hash password equals to. So right now we don't have we have to install a library, right? So let's comment this, and let's install a library. Let's close the server, npm install -- save and bcrypt. Okay, so it's bcrypt. So it is downloaded. Now let's import that library. Const bcrypt equals to require, let's say bcrypt. So this library we will use for hashing our password. Okay, so this password, and we'll say bcrypt, and it provides some function like hash sync. Okay, let me show you the documentation if you want to know more. So we'll say bcrypt npm package. So here, this is library. This is the widely used library. You can see the weekly downloads in numbers, and there are some functions. There are different ways to use this library. Like you can normally use it requires some salt to increase the strength of the password. So basically it is going to give you a function hash, and it also gives you a callback function, so you can store your hash password in the database. There are different another method also available. Without generating a salt, you can use your some salt values like 1 to 10, and you can again save the hash password. To check the password, you can use the compare function. You can take the plain text password, and you can get the result, and you can again use a callback function. Okay, it is also available with the promise. This is a hash function. After the hashing, it returns a promise, so you can use the then keyword, and again you can save your password. Okay, so I'm not interested in any of them. So here is my interest. To hash a password, gensalt or hash sync, right? So I'm gonna use this one, hash sync. So let's bcrypt hash sync. You can see the hint. That's the specialty in VS Code, hash sync. And here I'm gonna say my plain password. So this is a user given password, right? And that's it. Let's take the salt. So it requires salt, right? You can give a value like 1 to 10. So let's say 10. So that's basically the strength. Save it. So you can save your password like this. And let's create some method also. User schema dot methods, and here it is an object. We are going to write a function authenticate. Okay, so right now it may sound confusing to you, but don't worry, you will get to know everything, like why I have written like this. So authenticate, again, this is a regular function, and okay, so this is a regular function. We are simply going to return a boolean value like true or false. So again, I'm going to use bcrypt dot compare, and you can see the documentation. To check a password, compare sync plain password and hash. So we'll say the plain password, just take the user input and plain password and the hash. So hash, we have this hash underscore password. Okay, so this is actually this hash password, right? We have from the database model, this hash underscore password. Okay, so if this matches, it will return either true or false. You can see it returns true or false. Okay, cool. So our method is also ready. Now let's run your server. So your database is connected, everything looks fine. And now let's go to your application once again and check everything what we need. So index.server, this is the API. Okay, routes is available here. So this is sign-in routes. We have created the user model over here. Now let's import this model to this. Okay, so here we are gonna say, okay, let's first import the user. Const user equals to require, and we'll say routes, and then sorry, models. Okay, we are in the same directory, right? Models, no, models, and then user. So that's the .js file. And here we are going to say, first let's create the user. So user dot find one. So first we'll check if user already exists, then we'll not allow to register, right? So we'll say here email, and here we'll say request dot body dot email, right? And once this executes, we'll use a callback function. So let's take error and user. Okay, and let's close this and let's check if, okay, user sorry, if error, if any error comes or like if any errors, yeah, if user not exist, like, so we'll simply return this response. We'll simply return response dot status. We'll assign 400 dot JSON, and here we're gonna say message user not found. Okay, now if user exists, if user exists, then it will be true, and true will become false. If there is an error, sorry, something wrong. Okay, cool. Okay, no. So let's, if user exists, so that is going to be true, and we'll make the false. Sorry, if user exists, then we'll say simply email already exists. User already registered. Okay, and let's save. And here we are gonna say if user is not registered, then we'll create an account. User const underscore user equals to new user. It takes an object. Okay, so here we are gonna say what we are gonna say, email we are going to say, let's const, and we'll say destructure your request body, request dot body, and here we are going to say first name, last name. So we are going to get all of this thing from the request, right? First name, last name, email, password. Okay, so this is the sign up process. So this is the sign up process. So let's copy this. So first name, last name, email, password. Let's pass these argument over here. First name, last name, email, password. Okay, or username is also mandatory, so we'll add a username also. Okay, username, password, and here we're gonna say the username. For the moment we are gonna use something random, right? Math dot random, so it is going to generate some random number. We'll convert that to the string. We haven't applied any logic to create the user, right? Okay, let's remove this. So underscore user is ready. Now if, okay, let's use underscore user dot save, and if it's saved, so let's save it, and let's write again a function error, and then user, right? error and then data. Okay, let's close this, and if there is an error, we'll simply return res dot status will say 400 again, and JSON. Here the message will be user something wrong, something went wrong. Okay, and let's close this, or else we'll say, okay, just say if data return res dot status, so we'll say 201, so it's a request created, and after the create once the user created, we are going to return let's say the user data. Okay, let's verify this, it is working or not. Let's save and let's go to your Postman, and here what we are going to say, data, so we have prefixed with the API / and see it properly, right? API, and then we'll say sign up. Okay, now let's send the request. App crashed. Use create index instead, that is one thing. Data unsort arguments required. Okay, let's first go to your server.js file, and here we are going to add one more property, use create index, that's a true, and let's go to your user model, and oh, okay, we haven't we are creating a user, but we don't have anything, like we have to send payload, right? So let's say here first name Rizwan, last name Han, email, we'll say rizwan@gmail.com, password, here we are going to say password 6. Okay, now let's send the request. Again something wrong. So it is working fine. There was some issue with the Nodemon, it was not reloading things. So here you can see the role is admin, first name Rizwan @ created at and the username is also created. Okay, let me check why the admin role is admin, and you can see the user. Okay, the default should be a user instead of admin. Let's save it and let's verify it once again, and let's create a new user, Rizwan Riz. Okay, now let's send the request, and it is completed. As you can see that now the role is user, so it's a normal user, and you can see the hash password is also returning, we are returning, so we don't need to return the hash password, right? So actually we don't need to return anything because it's a sign up process. Okay, so let's go and go to your routes, and let's where is the route? Okay, this is the route user, and here we are gonna say a message. instead of user, we'll say user created successfully. Okay, save. This is one thing, and I have created a controller, right? So let's create a user.js, and let's go user.js routes and copy this whole thing, cut, and let's save it. Let's go to the controller and we'll say here module dot exports equals to, let's handle request, then response, and next. Okay, we don't need next. We are not passing a request from here, right? So let's paste over here. So this is what we have. Now let's import, let's take all the required files. Okay, so what we have, so we have a user object only. Let's cut it from here, save again, and go to user, and let's add here. Okay, or instead of module export, we'll say export dot sign. We are going to attach a function with the export argument, export dot sign up. Okay, so let's save. Let's go to your user routes and let's remove this function and add our that function, sign up. So you can see sign up is imported from the controller automatically. So here, let's save this, and we'll do the same thing for with this sign in process. Sorry, it should be sign up, right? So it should be sign up, and it should be sign in. Save. Now let's verify it once again, it's working or not. So let's change the user, Imran Khan, Imran, right? Now let's send the request, user created successfully. So guys, we are done with the process of creating the user, and yeah, I thought of creating everything like a login process also, but yeah, it's too late. You guys will get bored while watching the video. That's why I'm quitting now, and we'll continue in the next video. Thank you.